What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show Recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's Ruthless. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit snit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 4, episode number 13, titled Keep Fighting. Now the synopsis for this episode states, Deputy Kate places herself in danger as she attempts to help Aaron. Andrew refuses to talk, and Ruth makes a pact with Lewis when circumstances speed up their escape plans. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, so we kicked this episode off where we left off with Aaron in the middle of the daggone road with lights blaring in his eyes from the sheriff's car, right? Well, not the sheriff's, but deputy's car. And we're talking about Deputy Kate. Now, Deputy Kate gets out of the car. She was like, is everything good? He was like, no, I really need some help. So she was like, well, who are you? And she pretty much, from what he tells her, she pretty much knows who he is from the descriptions and all of that stuff. So she was like, oh, yeah, they've been looking for you. And then your wife's name is Laura? He was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, she's been kidnapped. So, of course, she was like, well, go ahead and get in the car and we can go ahead and call the sheriff to see what we need to do next. So anyhow, when she gets in the car, she puts him in the front seat as well. And she attempts to call Sheriff Conley. Now, Sheriff Conley does not pick up the radio, so she decides to call his cell phone instead. So after calling his cell phone, he does actually pick up the phone. Now, when he picks up the phone, she tells him about the situation. Hey, I found Aaron, and whoa. So he was like, well, let me talk to the kid. So anyhow, he gets Aaron on the phone. Aaron starts telling him the spiel about what went down, what he saw a little bit of, and all of this stuff. But he was like, my wife is still up there. Like, we need to save her. All of this good stuff, right? So Sheriff Conley is like, look, just calm down. He was like, well, how did you get out? Because that's his main concern. Like, I don't know nobody to get up out of there, alive. So how in the world did you get up out of that situation? And he was like, well, I just pretty much fought against the guy that was trying to take me out. And, I escaped or whatnot. So he was like, okay, well, I got a plan. Just calm down. You're safe. You're in great hands at this point. So he was like, let me talk to Kate. So put her back on the phone. So when he places Kate back on the phone, he tells Kate not to take Aaron back to the sheriff's office because he doesn't believe that he's going to be well taken care of there. He feels like something is going to go wrong if he goes that direction. But instead, take this brother to the hunting lodge, where it's about 30 minutes or so away from where they are at this point in time. But he was like, no, I'm just trying to keep him safe. I was like, hell no, bro. The hunting lodge? Man, get up out of here, bro. But anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the compound where we see River is patiently waiting on St. Peter to show up. St. Peter does actually show up without a car at this point. So he's walking in the woods and he creeps up on River. River's like, hey man, what's good? And he was like, hey River, we gotta go. He was like, go where? He was like, no, man, I got a car. It's already hidden. Like, we can go ahead and get up out of here. There's nothing here for us. We can go ahead and leave like we've been talking about. But he does not know the behind the scenes, agreements that River has made with other people as well. Not to mention the $1 million that's sitting over there in the Hiace's trailer. Like, he has yet to convey any of that information to St. Peter. So St. Peter don't know that. All he knows is that you told me that you love me, River. River's like, yeah, I love you. But I also love that $1 million that's sitting over here, at the Hiace's trailer. And if we can wait and be patient, we can possibly have about $3 million. All right. And we can split it amongst ourselves. Not to mention you got Ruth, you got Joan, you got all these other people such as Lewis and George and all these other people in the picture as well. Nobody is communicating. But the one person that is ready to go right now is Peter and River because they have time and opportunity. Right now, nobody's there. You have time and opportunity, River, to leave. If you're ready to jettison, this is the time. But you cannot leave without the money. Greed is going to be the problem right here. So anyhow, old boy gets upset. He was like, oh, man, you lied to me. And River's like, oh, no. You've sadly mistaken. He was saying all of this in his head. No, I didn't lie to you. No, I'm not lying to you. I just failed to tell you everything that I had planned, essentially. Like, I was going to leave you and I was going to keep all the money for my daggone self. But I didn't tell you all of that. But no, trust and believe I'm in this with you, Peter. But we can't leave just yet, all right? And Peter's like, oh, okay. So he sucker punches him with the gun, knocks him down to the ground, and he was like, I'm giving you something to remember. And then like a thief in the night, this Joker was gone. Like he was running through the woods. And then out of nowhere, we see Joan hopping out like daggone Spider-Man and shit. Like, she was like, I knew it. I was like, what did you know? Did you know he was messing around? He had already told you that. She was like, I knew it. He was like, no, did you hear him? Did you hear him? And she was like, yeah, I heard him. I heard that he lost Aaron. That's what she heard. She didn't care about none of that. You talking about that's your boyfriend and all of that. She didn't care about any of that. What she heard was he lost Aaron. And he was like, daggone. That was not what she needed to hear. And she was like, I'm going to tell Ruth. River's like, okay, she doesn't care. Like, she's not going to care. She's only concerned about her daughter. She was like, well, I'm definitely still going to tell her, right? So anyhow, she leaves, she walks away. And of course, River feels some type of way because his plan is not working out the way that he thought it was going to work out. And it's crazy because all this time he been telling them like 3 a.m., we got to be ready to go by 3 a.m. And I'm like, shit. Like, it made me think about that song. What's that song from back in the 90s? Like, 5 o'clock in the morning. Where you gonna be? Outside on the corner. You better get yourself together. Man, that was the that was the joint, man. So I'm saying 3 o'clock in the morning. Where you gonna be? Back up in your trailer. You better get yourself together. Oh, man, River, you better get it together, brother, because you are not going anywhere at this point in time, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the sheriff's office where we see Desiree, pretty much dismissing, pretty much the majority of the agents at that time. Like, everybody can go home except for, a few, so they can watch out with what, whatever's going on or whatnot. So, she goes over there to speak to Cal. Cal is still in his feelings because he just heard his boo been getting it on with the whole crew, right? And, I mean, you can't get all up in your feelings, man. It is what it is. And old boy just let you know what he just gave you the rundown, like she was messing with Malcolm. And I believe it because he doesn't have anything to lose. At this point, he's locked up. Like, what? How does he benefit from this? And Cal knows that as well. So, it is what it is at this point. So he's trying to leave, but she ain't letting him leave. She's trying to tell him, hey, I did a little bit of research and I found out that, Max suspended him as well. And look at the telephone number. It's the same cell phone number. And of course, Cal is getting suckered in. And he was like, so do you think he's up there? And she was like, well, could be. And he was like, well, we would need a massive army to go back up there. She was like, well, what about the children? Like, that would be dangerous, right? So anyhow, no one has been able to find him. No one's been able to locate him. There's a possibility, but they're not willing to take the risk at this point. But they also understand that if it's an agent up there, then this could be all they need to really get into the compound, which I get. So anyhow, since we're talking about the compound, we head back over there to see Peter creeping towards the vehicle that he has stashed away. So as he's getting ready to open the door, 2 individuals pop up on him. Those 2 individuals just so happen to be Lewis and George. They seem to be in the right place at the right time all the damn time, right? So anyhow, Peter's like, look, man, just go ahead and go ahead and put 2 in me. Go ahead and knock me down, man. Look, When the highest finds out, I'm dead anyhow. Just go ahead and do it right here. Just do it. Just do it. Why you hesitating? And they was like, look, we hear what you're saying. Yeah, you would be dead, but we're not going to be the ones to do it to you. And he was like, what? And he was like, look, man, I lost him. I lost the guy. And it was like, okay, but why didn't you just tell us? He was like, tell you what? He was like, hey, did you not know that there was a tracker on the truck? He was like, no, I didn't know that. They was like, yeah. So they handed him a device, a tracking device, so he could locate the vehicle. Now, the vehicle was on the side of the road smoking. You see what I'm saying? Because of the gunshots that you put into the vehicle. So it's no longer good. So once you find it, it's going to be no good anyhow. But anyhow, he leaves, relieved as well. But I still feel like he was afraid as he was leaving, because just to think that he could also get caught by someone else that isn't as forgiving as these two gentlemen right here. So anyhow, as he leaves, Lewis and George come over to the vehicle. And George is like, man, he had the whole vehicle stashed out here and shit. And he was like, man, I wonder if you got the keys. Of course, Lewis got the keys. And I was like, oh, he already thinking 2 steps ahead of these jokers. Like, I got the keys. We got the car stashed out here. All we need to do is get to that grip. All right? So if we can get that grip, we're going to be all right. And George is like, well, do you think he's going to be able to locate old boy? He was like, well, for his sake, I hope he does. But if not, we still good. So anyhow, moving on from there, right? We head over to see another individual creeping around, and it just so happens to be Joan. So Joan is creeping up to Ruth's trailer, knocking real nice and slow, right? Real nice and slow, so she doesn't get noticed. So Ruth comes to the door with her little white outfit on, and she was like, what do you want? And she was like, look, I'm here to tell you that Rivers' boy toy lost Aaron. She was like, oh, hell no. Like, his plan did not work. No, it didn't. Oh, girl, what we're going to do? I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to have to figure out something. Because we're not leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because where we're going to be? Outside at the train. Where we are right now. As a matter of fact, as Jones stated, we about to get up anyway to go make the men breakfast. So anyhow, since we're talking about breakfast and men, where are the children? That's what Ruth wants to know. Where are the children? They haven't came back yet? And of course, Joan is like, well, I'm sorry, I haven't heard anything. And then she was like, well, does the highest not tell you anything? And then she also sticks a jab in there, Ruth, and she was like, well, does your magic box not open all the doors? And Ruth is like, oh, so you're really going to take it to that point right now? And Joan is like, yeah, I mean, I just couldn't help it. I couldn't help myself. I had to stick it to you real quick because, I mean, you doing what you're doing, but it's not getting you where you want to be. Let me move on before I get in trouble. So anyhow, next we see the elder mother, right? So the elder mother comes over to the young women trailer, right? And it's crazy because when she comes in there, she's waking everybody up. And even in the morning, this lady is ruthless. Like, shit, it should be about elder mother. Bump Ruth. I understand the premise of the show, but daggone, man, I mean, the elder mother is just as ruthless as it comes because she comes in the trailer. She's like looking at Laura. She's looking at all the girls, and then she looks at Laura's eyes, and she was like, oh, your eyes look hazy. And Laura's like, oh, I'm fine. And she was like, well, let me give you something. And Laura's like, well, I thought that the men had to eat first. She was like, oh, no. So anyhow, she takes Laura with her. But before she leaves, though, she looks over there at Lacey and she was like, I want you to go to the washroom and I want you to wash all the clothes all day. Stand there until you're done. All right? And she turns around to, what's her name, Zane, and she was like, look, I want you to chain her to the washer. I was like, hell, y'all got a lock on the washing machine? On the washing machine? I was like, man, y'all look crazy. And like I stated just now, ruthless, man. Moving on from there, once she leaves with Laura to go give her, a little bite to eat to get her system back regulated, right? What's her name? Lacey's like, man, I hate that beat. Like, I truly do. And I know she's ready to put hands on her, but she knows she can't. So anyhow, Zane comes over there talking about, now you know that's not good. That's not the Raku way. Lacey's like, for real. And Zane is like, yeah, you better play the game. Like you told old girl the other night. You told her to play the game. She's telling you to play the game. Stay the course. That's how you going to get up out of here. Y'all don't want to end up like your friend did, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to the Highest's trailer to see the elder mother, who has obviously did what she did with Laura, because now she's over there trying to give, the Highest his early Raku bath. And he was like, no, I'm good. I think I'm good this morning. And actually, from now on, I would like Ruth to bathe me instead. And she was like, well, did I do something wrong, your Highest? And he was like, no, I just want Ruth. And did you know that she was the only, that she's the only one that's carrying my pure seed? And the elder mother is like, well, your Highest, you have multiple children. And he was like, no. I have but one pure seed, one that I actually put in the work for. Well, I guess he was putting in work. Man, you know what? Let me move on, man, because I was like, man, what in the heck is going on? I'm so daggone confused. Man, listen, if he believed that he was passing his seed through some folks, man, get up out of here, bro. Anyhow, she's upset, of course, and he tells her to go get Ruth, and she walks out. But before she walks out, she said some words silently to herself, and she walks out. So I'm going to leave that up to your own interpretation, what she stated. So from there, we head back over to the sheriff's office, where we see Andrew is now currently locked up in a cell, but he also has an agent that's in the room with him that's trying to talk to him about, what's going on, why is he in this predicament or whatnot. Of course, Andrew doesn't want to hold this conversation very long at all, but, he's like, look, man, you don't remember me, do you? Andrew's like, no, as a matter of fact, no, I do not. He was like, well, you actually trained me, though. He was like, man, I've trained a lot of people, man. And then he goes on to say, well, you had a nickname for me. And he was like, yeah, I do remember you now. And he was like, I told you you wasn't going no damn where. And he was like, yeah, due to what you told me, that's the reason why I made it. I was like, oh, damn. Daggone. So anyhow, he's still trying to talk to Andrew. He's trying to figure out what happened to him, what made him turn, what made him lay down with the Highest, because he's seen the pictures. He's just like, what's going on? And then he was like, I've heard that they're actually going up there tomorrow with a lot of firepower. So if Malcolm is up there and he's up there, it's not going to look good for you. He was like, man, get up out of here. So you trying to get a confession? He was like, a confession you will not get. And he says, look, man, I'm trying to go to bed. Can I get some sleep? I was like, damn, Andrew. So I don't know what Andrew was going to do, but I'm guessing he's going to figure it out. So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to the Rakadushi compound, where we see the elder mother is now on her way to get Ruth so she can go back over there and bathe, the Highest or whatnot, because that now is her daily duty. All right. And of course, the elder mother is upset as hell. She is not happy about this situation at all. So when Ruth comes out, she's super, super happy, of course, putting on the front, talking about, hey, good morning, elder mother. Elder mother's like, man, you'll get the hell up out of here. Look, you're not going to the kitchen with me today. She was like, oh, what's going on? She was like, you are going to the Highest's trailer and you're going to bathe him. And you're supposed to bathe him every day in the morning. So of course Ruth is like, okay, I can definitely do that. And the elder mother is like, with disgust in her eyes, talking about, this is my job. It used to be my job to bathe him every day, but you're coming over here to take my job. So she was like, okay, here are the items to bathe him with. And she looks like she's getting ready to hand it off to Ruth, but she drops it on the ground and she said, you pick it up. I was like, oh. And then she walks out. I said, these folks would never get it together. So anyhow, moving on from there, we see Ruth picking up the items, and here comes River. Now River's like, have you heard? She was like, yes, I did actually hear from Joan last night, and she told me everything that went down. He was like, so what are we going to do? She was like, well, I don't know. And he was like, well, we do know this, that you told the highest not to get high when you were supposed to get him high. But she was like, no, not without my daughter though. And River's like, shit, like, where the hell are these kids? Like, they hindering, like, they holding up the whole damn plan. That's where River is. And I think if River can get his hands on that money, bump Joan, bump Ruth, bump anybody else that's in the picture, he is gone. Like, he don't give two damns about them kids. Like, he ready to go. So anyhow, from there, we head over to see Daikon. Now, Daikon is chilling in his trailer or whatnot, and he receives a phone call from Chef Conley himself. So Chef Conley goes on to tell him that, hey man, I can't do too much moving right now because I got an FBI tail on me, but I wish that I could, but I'm just calling you to give you some intel about what's going on. He goes on to tell him about Aaron, and Daikon is like, yeah, he's going to call his parents or whatnot. He was like, well, that plan didn't work. And he was like, what? He was like, yeah, he got away, stole the truck, drove off. All right? Just so you know. But I got that taken care of. I sent them to the hunting lodge or whatnot. So all of that's been taken care of. Oh, also, by the way, Andrew has also been apprehended and he's locked up. And of course, Daikon needs to know, is he spilling the beans? He was like, no, he's actually keeping tight-lipped right now. So he hasn't said a word. So that relieved Daikon as well. But he's like, look, man, I'm definitely going to have to tell the highest. And Sheriff Collins like, are you sure you want to do that? He was like, well, unfortunately, I have to, right? Because if he knows that I know and I don't tell him that I know, then it's going to be a bad show for everybody, right? So Chef Conley says, shit, man, I'm about to get up out of here. If y'all about to do all of this, I need to get out of here before it hits the fan. He was like, oh, so you just going to run off and all of this? And what if I'm recording this phone call or whatnot? Like, I got you by the balls. He was like, no, actually you don't. Because if you're recording this phone call, then I'm going to sound like womp, womp, womp. Womp, 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 womp. All right? And I was like, hell to the no. He said he going to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. I was like, man, move it on, man. We head over to see George, Lewis, and Manny, right? So, long story short, George is told, Manny the plan, just as they planned it out, not giving him too much information, but just enough. And then on the flip side, we see Lacey and Zane. So they're standing over there near the bathing pool, and Lacey is wondering who, ordered her or whatnot. Like, I bet it was him. And Zane is like, no, it definitely wasn't him. She was like, what are you talking about? Well, he tried to arm me, and I put this contraption inside of me, and it messed him up. So no, it definitely wasn't him. He wasn't able to do nothing with you. Now, it may have been George and Lewis, but he definitely was not the one, right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to see Daikon going to see the highest. And the highest is like, look, man, what's good? Are you ready to go get this paper? Daikon is like, look, your highest, we got plenty of time for that. And he was like, okay. He was like, well, what's going on? So Daikon goes on to tell him about the whole situation that went down with Aaron, telling him that he got away, but it's been handled because the sheriff, pretty much took care of all of that. But the highest is more concerned about the cell phone usage. Was he able to use the cell phone to call for help? That's his main concern. He doesn't like that. Also, Daikon goes on to tell him that Andrew has also been apprehended. He was like, for real? He was like, yes, he's been apprehended, but he's not talking. And he was like, are you sure? He was like, yes, I'm definitely sure. So anyhow, he was like, look, I'm going to take care of it, your highest. Just calm down. Everything is going to be okay. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Lewis. And now Lewis is waiting on Ruth to come over to talk to him. And she was like, look, we shouldn't be doing this out in public. He's like, no, we good right here. This is the best place to do it. So anyhow, long story short, he was like, look, old boy got away last night. We need to move today. Ruth is like, look, I'm not going no daggone well without my baby. But also, look, if you can make a promise to me, like if I gave you like $300K today, would you promise to come back and get me and my daughter? He's like, yeah, I swear. So anyhow, she was like, okay, well, I'm getting ready to go bathe the highest, but I'm going to bring the money out to you. Can you, get enough men? Can you conjure up enough men, to do what we need to do so we can get this job done? He was like, yeah, most definitely. And then she was like, well, we can either leave today, right now, or we could, we can do it later, because he's actually going to the bank today. He was like, yeah, he's supposed to. But how much more do you think we can get if he goes to the bank? And she was like, about 400. Now, she knows that there's a lot more money than that, than what she's offering. See, this is why that plan ain't going to work, because everybody got their own little separate scheme going on. And for me, if we're not going to work together for real, then we need to dead this immediately, because it's not going to pan out right. And everybody's lying to one another, talking about, from River to Joan to Ruth to Lewis to George. Who in the hell knows what's going on? So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to the hunting lodge, right? And we see Aaron and Deputy Kate sitting outside of the vehicle. So they're waiting for someone to show up. So someone actually does show up. And it just so happens to be Agent Mac, right? So Agent Mac pulls up. Deputy Kate is like, look, I thought there would be more of you. And he was like, look, man, this is real dangerous up there right now. So we just need to go ahead and head back over to the sheriff's office so we can be safe. So anyhow, he was like, I'll take it from here. She hands Aaron over to him. And then they start to walk off to the car. Well, he pulls his little boom boom out, turns around, pops Kate in the back. I was like, oh no, Kate. Kate was just simply doing her daggone job. And she gone. I said, oh no, Kate. So anyhow, she falls to the ground. Aaron falls down. He was like, look, man, hands behind your back. Come on with me. And I was like, oh, bro, you thought you were good to go, man. But anyhow, man, that's it on my end. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this recap, man. I will talk to you guys soon. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down right here. Recap with Mo. Thank y'all so very much. Till next time. Peace.